you guys. So today I have a video that I never thought I would actually film, and that is a monthly TBR video. I am 110% a mood reader, so setting up a TBR is not something I tend to do, specifically because every time I say I'm gonna read these books during this month, I never do. So yeah, so we'll see how this is gonna go if I actually follow through. And the only reason why I am setting up a monthly TBR for July is because I joined the Spice Up Your Summerton reading challenge thing, whatever. So there are quite a lot of prompts. It's like a bingo card kind of thing. I joined the team Forbidden Juice Bar. So there are two teams. There's like the Gothic one, then there's the Forbidden Taboo, which would be Forbidden Juice Bar team. So obviously I joined the Forbidden because we love forbidden romances over here. So there are, like I said, there are a lot of prompts in it. Thankfully the host mentioned that we can repeat a book per prompt. So we're gonna see how that's gonna go for me. Before diving into the challenge though, I'm gonna be mentioning some of the books that I will be reading in July, and for this very first book I am 110% cheating because I already started it, and that is Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. I read Magnolia Parks in June and I absolutely adored it so much, and people keep saying that Daisy Hates is even better. So I'm like, say less. So I immediately started it, and right from the beginning I was like absolutely intrigued. So one of the taglines that is here at the back says no guns at the dinner table, and I read that and I was like, what does that mean? It's exactly what it means. So basically Daisy Hates, she is Julian Hates' sister. Julian is basically a gang lord. He's involved in a whole lot of sketchy stuff, and with him come what Daisy calls the Lost Boys. It's like a whole bunch of men who are basically in Julian's team, to put it mildly. So when you have a lot of men under one roof that are related to gang lord activities, guns should be put away, and that's exactly how it starts. And I was like, what even? Super intrigued by it, especially because we meet Daisy in the first book in Magnolia Parks, and we meet Christian, who's the love interest. Christian is obviously head over heels for Magnolia Parks. So he has kind of like a friends with benefit thing going on with Daisy. Unfortunately, he doesn't notice that he is starting to develop feelings for Daisy. Daisy already knows that she has feelings for him, but of course she does know that he's hung up on Magnolia Parks. And so that's kind of part of the drama that surrounds this book, as well as, again, Julian with his activities and everything that he does. So it's kind of interesting to figure out where this is gonna go, how it's gonna tie into Magnolia Parks with all of the characters over there. The following book that I am absolutely dying to read is Bring Me Your Midnight by Rachel Griffin. I actually have an arc for this book, which I'm so happy about it. I have loved Rachel Griffin's previous books before. She is the author of The Nature of Witches and Wild is the Witch. She tends to write kind of like fantasy, but like cozy fantasy with like Taylor Swift folklore vibes. I don't know, she just does a fantastic job with them, especially because they are fantasy standalones. I am a huge lover of fantasy standalones. Like, you mean to tell me that I can escape into a fantasy world but not have to dive into like a trilogy, 4 books, 5 books, 6 books? That I love that. So, which is why Rachel is one of my go-to authors for fantasies. And so Bring Me Your Midnight is coming out in August, and Bring Me Your Midnight is a lush romantic fantasy about forbidden love and the pull between duty and desire. So we have our female main character, Tana Fairchild. She already knows her fate, which is basically to marry the governor's son in order to create an alliance between the witches and just the humans, regular humans with no powers, no magic, no witches, no nothing, from the mainland. And so they need to create this alliance in order for them to view Tana as not a threat. What Tana's coven typically does is they release their power into the ocean. Unfortunately, Tana doesn't do that. She misses the ritual, and that is a very fatal mistake. And this is where she meets Wolf, and Wolf This is where the forbidden love comes. He is part of a coven that does practice dark magic. Obviously, this makes him pretty much the only person that can help Tana with her power, but he refuses to let her release her power into the ocean and instead to embrace this forbidden magic. But of course, with her not releasing the magic into the ocean, things don't plan out exactly how she wishes them for, and so they take a turn for the worst. So I'm excited to read this book. I truly cannot wait. This is definitely in my July TBR, especially because it comes out in August. So it is a must that I read it in July. And this book is also part of the Spice Up Your Summerton into the fantasy prompt and the favorite author prompt. Following book that I'm going to be reading, which is also part of the Summerton, it's going to be Play With Me by Becca Mack. This one falls into the sports romance. I read Consider Me in June or May. I can't remember when I read it, but I read that book and I absolutely adored it so freaking much. It features a golden retriever hero who's a playboy, but as soon as he meets the girl of his dreams, he's just absolutely gone for her, like boy obsessed to a T. And I was eating that book up so much. And that book features some of the characters that are going to have their own stories. One of them is Garrett. Garrett is the star right winger of the Vancouver Vipers, which is a hockey team. And this is basically his dream come true. All he has to do to not lose his spot or lose his limbs is to not come across his captain's sister, which should be easy, especially when she intimidates him because she's snarky, she's just outspoken, outgoing, just loudmouth and everything like that, and that is very intimidating for Garrett. Unfortunately, of course, he has seen of her too much and he wants more. But of course, he needs to be careful because not only is she his captain sister, she's his best friend little sister, which I honestly, again, cannot wait to be diving into this one because of that and just everything about it, basically. The next book that I'm going to be hopefully reading is going to be Glimmers of You by Catherine Coles. So this is going to be part of also my Summerton as well as arcs that I gotta read. And this falls under matte cover as well as recently hauled. The author is going to be sending me a copy of the book, which I cannot wait so I can continue my collection. I already have the first 2 books, so this is going to be great to continue and have this 3rd book. So Glimmers of You features brother's best friend, also kind of friends to strangers to lovers, plus fake dating as well. So we have our female main character and we have Caden, who's the male main character. They used to be friends, but he left town and now he's back. And now that he's back, she's trying to ignore him and keep him at bay. But her ex, our female main character's ex, is just not leaving her alone. So Caden suggests, hey, why don't we date and pretend that we are madly in love? Of course, these characters, they're madly in love with each other, so trying to fake it is not that hard. Unfortunately, there is someone watching. As we know with Catherine Coles, if you haven't read her books typically tend to have a little bit of suspense in them. So, which is why I'm always so intrigued and just so into her storytelling, because while you have like a small town aspect and you have just the swoon-worthy romance, you also have something in the back where you're just constantly like, okay, what's gonna be happening? Who is it gonna be? And you're just like constantly on the edge of your seat while also enjoying everything else that the romance aspect has to offer. Next is Double Edged by Nyla K. So this book is a heavily taboo book, so don't come at me. But this is extremely forbidden and taboo because it does feature 2 twins that are in love with each other. It's also romance, and it also kind of has a little bit of an age gap because their stepfather is also kind of slightly involved with them. I started reading this book months ago, and I just, for some reason, it's been taking me forever to get through. It is a very thick book. I was like, I'm just gonna try to power through it for this Summerton because it's gonna be part of my Ask a Rec and Queer prompt. Next I have Severed by Vengeance by El Maldonado. Next I have Severed by Vengeance by El Maldonado. This is going to be for the prompt Roses on the Cover. This cover is absolutely amazing, first of all. Second, this is a cop criminal romance or dark romance story. And there's this one line in the blurb that absolutely just had me like, I need it. and it says, Detective Evangelina Cruz was mine to taint, use, and ruin. I don't know why, but every time a male main character says something like that, it just does something to me, okay? It does something to me. I don't know what it is, especially when we have, as a trope, kind of, burns the world for her or touch her and die vibes. We love that over here. This next book is one that I could not believe I have not read. I found out about this book, I think it was last year around the time when it came out. Completely, I had it on my TBR. I was very excited to read it, and then I just forgot it existed. And this is Sick Crush by Alta Hensley. This is a forbidden stalker romance. We have our female main character. She is barely legal, and we have her teacher, because of course we love student-teacher forbidden romances over here. Because she has this stalker, the only person that she feels secure with or safe with is our male main character. She's too innocent to understand that maybe the one person that she should not go to for help is her teacher, who is absolutely in lust with her. So this is going to be a good one. It's very short. It's 195 pages, which is why it's going under my prompt of under 200 pages for my Summerton, as well as the student-teacher prompt. Next, I have what I believe is a mafia romance, Bullet Between Us by Kate Dosal. So this one is going for my prompt of first book in a duet, and I may be cheating here because I'm not entirely sure if it's a duet or if it's a series. Kind of interested in this. This was also recommended by Nicole Fiorina. I love Nicole Fiorina. She is a fantastic author. I have her books right here. Absolutely love her books, and she recommended this, so I cannot wait. And I also signed up for the ARC for the second book, which is A War Between Us, which will be the continuation to this first book in what I hope is a duet, so that I am not cheating. And so A War Between Us is going to go under my prompt title with the or a in it, so A War Between Us is going to go in it. The next book also fills up two prompts, which would be Blood on the Cover and Age Gap, and I love a good age gap. Again, I love forbidden romances. Age Gap falls right under that. And That Sick Love by Jessie Hall is actually a book that I've been wanting to read, and I even started it a couple of months ago, or around the time when it came out. I started reading it, but I was just not in the mindset for reading dark romance, so I just kind of set it aside, and I was like, I'll just pick it up whenever I'm in the mood for it, and I figured now is the perfect time to read it. This one is a dark stalker romance as well, with a little bit of religion. It has a ton of kinks, and that's the only reason why I added this book to my TBR. The kink list is absolutely unreal. I still don't know what the book is about. I just saw the content warning list and I was like, bet, and I just added it. And so yeah, sometimes it's a trope list or a content warning list that it's gonna make me want to read a book. Speaking of content warnings that sell me on wanting to read a book is Grave Love by Audrey Rush. This book was one that I hadn't really heard of it. I think I was just scrolling on Instagram and I saw it and I saved it on my recommendations folder and then just kind of forgot about it. I was looking for a book to suggest for my book club. In case you didn't know, I have a book club called Lusting After Dark over on the Fable app. I will leave a link in the description box below. And this club, this is where we read dark romance, forbidden, taboo books. So if you guys are a lover of that, make sure that you join. Would love to have you. So typically what we do each month is my co-host Ashley and I, we will select one book each, and then we give the option, both options, to the club, and the club selects which book they would like to read. And in order for me to, I love to give the option to the members and to make it easier, not just having to read the description of the book. I like including the tropes as well as the content warning that could be intriguing for dark romance readers. So as I was doing research, I was like, the content warning on this book was another one where I was like, bet, I'm reading it. I don't fully necessarily know what it's about. All I know is that it's a dark stalker romance between a serial killer and his obsession over a depressed crematory operator. This next book is for the Grumpy Sunshine prompt on the Summerton, and it is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I actually started this book in June, buddy reading it with a friend of mine, Sky from Sky's Library. It features bad boy Knox, who's perfectly fine being by himself, doesn't tolerate any drama whatsoever. Fortunately, he was not expecting Naomi to just kind of arrive in his life with the needs that she didn't even know she had. And she basically kind of turns his world upside down. I think this is a perfect book to read in July. I think it's mostly for the cover, just because it's blue and flowers and it just kind of gives that summery feel. So finally happy that I'm going to finally be reading this book. This next book is for the dystopian prompt. I debated reading a book or just selecting a book for this prompt, just because I don't typically read dystopian. I used to read it back when I was in high school. I would read and college. I would read a lot of dystopian novels, but I just kind of fell out of love with that genre. So I was like, do I want to read one? Do I not want to read one? I wasn't entirely sure. So I figured, let me just search and see what comes up. And I found a standalone dystopian, which I feel like is rare nowadays. And this one's called Swallow It Down by Addison Kane. Again, I have no idea. I had never heard of this book, but it's dystopian and it's a standalone, and it features an angst-ridden romance, enemies to lovers as well. So I figured, let's give it a shot. I don't promise that I will read it. I'm hopeful, but we'll see. There's this world, this dystopian world, where something happened that I cannot remember what it was about. I read it somewhere, I can't remember. Something happened where women are low in existence in a way. We have our male main character who's a captain of a ship, and he does provide security for them. The only thing is that they're basically in this sort of sex slavery thing going on, because in order to provide them security and freedom, the thing that they have to do to secure that is have sex with the crew however many times they want, however they want to treat them. So that's why I feel like this is kind of like a dark dystopian novel. For the Just Spice prompt, I have Click by Brianna Michaels. It's part of a series that I started months ago, and it's the next level series where we have Glitch and Flip. Glitch and Flip, both books became top favorites of the year. They are, if you're just looking for an extremely high spice, low plot, very minor plot, this series is for you. And when I tell you it is spicy, it is spicy. I have not read, obviously, this third book, but speaking about the second book, it left me dead. I was like, I need an ice bath, like an ice bath in the North Pole, okay? Like ice bath, that's how hot this book is. Like, I was just reading it with a mouth just wide open, like, holy shit. The dirty talk in that book, in both books, in Glitch and in Flip, but in Flip, the dirty talk was on a whole other level, especially when the male main character, he is a fan of dirty talk that includes both degradation and praise. Listen, those two kings combined, he does such a fantastic job, or in this case the author did such a fantastic job in including both of them. I mean, just do yourself a favor and just start this series. You will not, absolutely will not regret it. And so this is where Click comes into play, and this features a boudoir photographer, I don't even know if I pronounced that right, but a boudoir photographer and a primal dom. Primal play is another one of my favorites because it's just, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And add to that he's a dom, I just know that my soul is gonna be just lifting up to the heavens. I just already know that. So this is another book that I'm like, as soon as I saw Just Spice as a prompt, I was like, what book am I gonna pick? I could not come up with anything. And then Click came into my brain and I was like, this is it. this is it. Even the description even says it. It says it's high spice, and I'm like, I'm here for it. This next book is going for the host favorite prompt, and the host gave, I believe she gave 3 books that were her favorites, and I read, I believe, either 1 or 2 of them. So I figured that I would, yeah, I think I read 2 of them. So I selected this book, Bird Glass. Now, I have absolutely no clue what this book is about. I read the description and I still stay dumb. I'm like, what is this even about? It says that it's not necessarily a romance, so I'm kind of like, okay. So I have absolutely no idea where this is gonna go. Part of the description mentions her going away from her stepbrother, maybe falling in love with her coach, and I'm like, I'm confused. But stepbrother and coach, which could mean an age gap there, either way, I'm in. So that's the only reason why I'm so excited to read this book, as well as because the Page Pilgrim Fab, she has recommended this book, and she created a reel a while back that kind of got me intrigued by it, and I saved it in my recommendations folder, then once again forgot about it. But now seeing it as a host favorite prompt, I was like, this is a sign. This is another sign that I need to read this book. The last book is for the our age, which would be reverse harem / why choose prompt. It is The Dukes of Ruin by Angel Lawson and Samantha Rue. So this book is the first book in a trilogy that is part of the series. So the series is actually titled The Royals of Forsyth University. So the first 3 books in the series are the Lords, then we have the Dukes, and then we have the Princess. This is a very dark romance world. If you guys read The Lords, specifically Lords of Pain, you already know how dark this series can get. And Dukes was one that I wanted to read as soon as it came out, but I was like, if the cliffhangers are as Lords, I was like, I'm gonna wait until all of the books are out and then I'm gonna read them. So all 3 books are finally out. I think the 3rd one came out last year or something like that, so it's the perfect time to start them and just kind of binge them all. So perfect timing, perfect timing. Those are basically the books that I am hoping to read, and hoping that creating this video does hold me accountable for actually going through them and reading them all, and if not all, at least the majority of them. We shall see. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you for the next video. Bye!